Here we go. You ready to get serious? It's not be as funny as you want. Hello and welcome to Four Burners. My name is Josh Earl, and joining me this week, very special guest. They're always special guests. He's a comedian, broadcaster, writer, actor. Please welcome. It's Dave Thornton, everyone. Yeah.
Yes, guys. Thank you. Now sit down. Sit down, everyone. Jesus.
The listeners don't know that there is a live audience in here. We get them in. We bust them in.
You've just been dying on your hole.
Yeah.
These are every episode.
The last two episodes, not funny, but the 100 people, they liked it. They were more smilers.
Yeah. They don't make a peep. And they keep coming back. So to be honest, it's on them.
Yeah. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, mate. Thanks for having me on.
I just had to go through what it is. So we look at your personal burners, your four burners, your health, career, family, friends. Now, this is going to be a weird one because the last two guests I'm friendly with.
Yeah.
Not friends with.
Yeah.
You're the first friend on.
Yeah. And we're two dads.
I know.
To be honest, even just working with a 4-burner makes us both go, bullshit. I need at least a 6-burner. That's what I'm doing a barbecue.
I was talking to Alexi Toliopoulos and I've got 5 in mine. What do I do? I'm like, one for you, Alexi, can be podcasts. That's fine. You can have podcasts there.
You went for an extra burner. Jeez. Okay.
That's for my walk. Anyway, so we got you, not dealer's choice, your choice. You want to start with career, health, friends, or family?
Mate, because we're just two blokes who we talk about our health more than men of our age probably would.
Yep.
Do you reckon?
I reckon lots of people talk about their health at our age. I think you can't avoid it. Either you're really into your health or your doctor's really into your health. There's no in between.
Mate, I'm trying to keep you on the payroll. If you could just stick around for longer. Actually, what I realised, when I say the health, you and I talk about exercise, but I don't think we ever really talk about our diet.
No.
Which I have noticed, mates our age again or older now, they're just Monties for diets. All of our mates are starving themselves for like 2 days out of a week.
Yeah. It's a weird thing because we've got another good friend of ours, Ben Lomas, loves sauna. And I know Dill's getting into ice baths and ice plunging.
Yeah.
I'm not there, even though people think I am.
Yeah.
People often go, you'd be into ice baths. Not into ice baths.
You're not doing it. I hate myself for saying this. I've started doing full cold showers in the morning, nothing but cold. So it's 2-3 minutes. It's never warm.
Welcome back to the Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah. And I hunt my own deer and...
Jamie, pull this up. No. Because it is
and I'm putting my
thing,
kids in scissor locks. I've got to teach them something.
We do talk, because let's go through it. You were healthy as a teenager, healthy as a kid, loved sport?
I love sport. I mean, I went through most people's trajectory, which is love sport during high school, was lucky enough to not blow my knee out, which a lot of the dominant sports players you have to think in the 90s, they were pushing kids so hard.
Yeah.
A huge percentage of our mates just blew their knees out at 15.
My cousin who was drafted to go play over in Fremantle, like first year, did his knee in his like pre-season, came back, did a whole year. That was like in the mid-90s, so like knee reconstructions were a full year out.
Yes.
Came back, did his other knee the next year. Fremantle though, very good. They put him through uni. Like so he got his business degree. Yeah. Off the back of doing 2 knees.
Geez, that is, well, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have. But yeah, I had the same. I had a mate of mine in my class who did his knee at football, like under 14s, under 16s, one of those. And then at PE, I mean, our PE teacher was a bit of a dropkick, but then he blew his knee out just doing something and the teacher just was yelling at him, go on, stop, get up, stop mucking around. And then I had to get stretched off and they're like, no, he's done his knee again.
I had an incident when I was in year 9 where playing footy at school PE, got tackled, hit my head. And my back went into spasms though. And so the PE teacher was worried about my back.
I'm only laughing because you think like, what a funny atomic bomb that went off in your head.
Yeah.
And then put out a vertebrae near your hip.
So they looked at my back and then the next day I had footy and they were like, oh, you'll be fine. And running on, passed out. Like from the change rooms, there was like a metre long step that you could jump off. I stepped off and something just triggered my head, went, nah, that's not good. And I just passed out. My dad was my coach and all my teammates were like going, your dad just stood there going, get up, Josh, get up, get up. It's like, nah, I think you better take him to the hospital.
You know what, guys? Could have stunted your growth, Jill. You could have been 6'8".
The dream. So healthy. Okay, let's go through as a family. Healthy family.
Healthy family. I'm pretty lucky, although somewhat emasculated, that my partner is real healthy.
Yeah.
Like her father, he grew up in England and he's done a few marathons and was like a really elite runner.
Yep.
But at that time when no one cared. Everyone would be like, well, why are you running?
Yeah.
This makes no sense. And then he was telling me he said, I had to give up running. And I said, oh, yeah, what time, Nev? Like, what age? And he said, 62. And I'm like, what?
That's, yeah.
And my partner was telling me she grew up in one of the outer suburbs. Well, she grew up in England, came over here when she was like 9 or 10, and then one of the outer suburbs of Melbourne. And she'd go, because we drove past it recently, we were going camping, and she went, oh, yeah, I used to just run around here. And I said, oh, yeah, like kids run. She's like, no, like I would go for a run. And I said, how old were you? And she's like, well, it's probably, still in primary school.
Yep.
And I said, I didn't go for a run till I was probably the late 20s when I knew I had to exercise. But she's got it in her. She wants to run.
Yeah.
We go on long distance running and she'll destroy me.
It's funny because where I grew up, Burnie has they call it Australia's second premier road race, and it's called the Burnie 10. So it's a 10-kilometre race. Robert De Costello once ran in it. Stella, sorry, not Stello. And and it was like 10K, and most people in the town would at one point do it. And I did it when I was in grade 4. So that's
right. 10Ks in grade 4.
Yeah, 10Ks in grade 4. And so I remember running with my dad because my dad at this point had just had a heart attack and I think had a heart attack and thought I've got to change my life here. So I started running and went, I'm going to do the Burnie 10. He ran it in 53 minutes. I ran it in 51 minutes, and he tried to come up with an excuse saying, oh, yeah, but you're shorter, and so the headwind wouldn't have affected you as much. I'm like, Dad, just admit you got beat by an 11-year-old. It's fine. Or not even, like, would have been 10. Like, yeah.
Who was knocked out a week beforehand, and I still ran it. That's pretty good, man, because I had no drive to run when I was younger. Like I would play all the sports.
Yeah.
But when fun run, quote unquote, came, like I remember in year 12, I actually put my girlfriend's netball outfit on for the quote unquote fun run.
Yeah.
And then they said, we will give you detention for the rest of your time at school every lunchtime if you run in that pleated skirt and a bib. And I'm like, is this supposed to be fun? They're like, no,
see, now
not on our watch.
You would have got a grant for that these days. So we're there. Growing up, snacks in the house?
What's your pronoun? Wing and attack.
Snacks in the house growing up?
Snacks in the house.
Were you an anti-fast food house?
No, it was very rare, but I realised in hindsight that was my parents wanting to get drunk that night. So they'd go, it's Macca's, and then they'd have, because the Geelong races were on, and my dad didn't care for horse racing, just wanted to get drunk all day. And so we'd get Macca's and go, what a special day. Yeah. And so there was none of that, but we didn't have healthy snacks because I ran around, like we would finish school, 3:30, whatever. I'd run home, just get into my normal stuff, and we would play basketball till honestly 6 o'clock and we had to come home for dinner.
Yep.
So that's 2 and a bit hours of just running around and playing ball.
Yeah.
And so there was, this was the 90s too. We're also rollerblading, mate, and doing things like
very cool.
Yeah. And so then I ate like crap, but I was just a rake of a kid and I ran it all off.
Yep. Soda stream growing up?
Yes, if not that Nobbies, which was a thing in, I think only in Victoria, which was one of those, those crates that you swap over. You give them your empties. They come back with sarsaparilla, orange, purple, blue, all the colours. And then you would knock the Noddies off all week. Did your family do dessert? Yes. Napolitana? Yeah.
Neapolitan ice cream? Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the first one that went out? Always.
Chocolate,
yeah.
And vanilla just sits there in the middle. That was ours.
Our house, strawberry. We'd want another tub. Strawberries all there. No one touched strawberry.
Yeah, but you got... Oh, yeah, I've got a brother, but you got two other brothers as well.
Yeah.
That's so funny. It's pink, man. I'm not touching it. No, we were right into strawberry.
It wasn't even that. I think we also had... we called them Cool Pops, but they're Zupa Dupas over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we'd always have that, and green would always be the ones that were left over. But my dad still, to this day, will have in the freezer a thing of Zupa Dupas or Cool Pops.
Oh, mate, in our high school, Zupa Dupas, because they were 25 cents. And so a lot of kids would have, well, when I say that, I had the 20 cents. They might even only have the 5 cents.
Yeah.
But the older kids would just go around just waiting to knuckle someone, go and give me your 20 cents or your 5 cents. And then you go, well, it's either that or I get punched in the face. So, here's your money.
So health now, you good though?
Well, again, my partner, she's very healthy and that's helped me a lot.
Yep.
But as I've gotten older, I've only gotten healthier more that, and you and I have talked about this, it's maintenance now.
Yeah.
Like it's me just trying to eat properly so that I don't have aches and pains.
Yeah. Also, we talk about mental health in this one. How's mental health? Has it always been something that you've looked after, or have you noticed do you have your own red flags when you see something happening that you go, I better step back a bit or better look after this?
Yeah. I mean, I suffered over the last 18 months from pretty insane insomnia, and I've never had a problem with sleeping before.
Yeah.
So I've hit it at every possible angle, which means I looked after my physical health. I was doing all the Joe Rogan-y things. I was staring into the sun for the first 2 minutes of the day. That's when I started doing cold showers. All these things of like getting yourself up to wind yourself back down, all that crap. But then I went to a psych.
Yep.
And that helped a lot. And then I've also just got onto supplements. I think my body was missing out on some stuff. I mean, the doctors initially gave me some pretty heavy sedatives. You can take shit that will knock you out.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's good for you.
Yeah.
And so there's stuff like that. And so the mental health, I think when the kids were really young and I was lacking sleep, it sent me mental.
Yeah.
Like I had like 1.5 breakdowns. I had one at the end of 2019. You know, when someone ate a bat in China, mate, it was really good timing for me. That was 2020 where I could recover and get myself back into it. But the end of the year before, because it was my second kid turned up the year before, and it was just the sheer lack of sleep for years on end.
Yeah.
And I just snapped. And so for about 3 months, I kind of had to not do a lot.
And we'll get to this with family, but it is also harder when you're in the house with the people you love more than anyone in the world. And it's like, well, I don't want to be angry at you, but unfortunately you're here and I'm about to lose my cool. I find myself anyway. I'm like, my kids have copped it a little bit more because of just stresses, especially in that time where we're in the house for 2 years together and kids, this is not about you. This is about me missing out on stuff. And I'm sorry, you're in the firing line.
It wasn't a weird time. Like I never wanted them to get COVID, but then people, oh, you don't want them to get COVID. You're like, they may get homicide if we keep going like this. And I mean, I did it last night. You know, with our jobs, it's all a bit up and down. And sometimes we have a time off during the day.
Yep.
So you do all the family stuff. And I'd pick the kids up from daycare and then school. And then the washing was done. So I was folding the washing up, literally had the dinner cooking. My partner came home. She wants to wind down from work. My kids are like, I'm really hungry. And I'm like, well, I'm trying to get it all done. And then I said, it'll be done in about 30 seconds. And then my eldest was like, you said 30 seconds like a minute ago. Where's my food? And I'm folding up the clothes, cooking it all. Yeah.
Yeah.
She heard some words that her sister said, you can't say those words. I'm like, I can. It's my house. I can say what I want. And so they'll push her.
So what you mentioned diet, what's the thing that you need to cut out then?
I guess I do keto-ish diet. Like it's so weird talking about this, isn't it? Because you just feel like a wanker. Just this is what it is.
This is what my show is. This is
4 burners and 2 flogs.
Mate, it's this or talking about tweets. I can't talk about tweets and 90s music anymore. I'm sorry. I actually want to know about people.
So it's kind of like that. Like I have chia seeds. Like during the week, I'm like 5 days I'll eat pretty well, more or less. And then on the weekends, I kind of eat what I want. So that means in the mornings, I'm eating chia seeds and I'm eating, natural muesli and fruit and that kind of carbs and salads and all this kind of nice stuff.
Do you calorie count?
I don't. I got mates who do, but I think it's the one last thing that, because we seem to, with steps and when you're working out, you're looking at all the kilojoules you're burning. And it's like at a point where I go, I can't analyze my life any further. I don't want to.
Yeah. That's because I do the calorie. Mine was to eat more though. That was the thing because I was trying to put on muscle, and it was that thing that you do go a bit batty. Just going, I'm not hungry, but I've got to have another 50 grams of protein before I go to bed. And what's in the house? I'm not poaching a chicken. Just give me something else.
Because you went from, I remember, when we were first gigging together, it's like you were the rakish indie kid.
So skinny. What changed it for me was I was in a costume department. And they said, I just changed your shirt. And I could feel the woman go, oh, she was surprised at how is that skinny fat kind of almost like Mr. Burns kind of just skin hanging off. And I'm like skinny, but also going, this is not good. And so it was a real kind of going, I might change something here. There was a whole bunch of factors, but it was that thing of, and maybe being little as well, maybe being little my whole life, just going, no, I'm going to get strong.
I mean, you and I would suffer from the same thing in that we would only put weight on our little guts.
Yeah.
Like if I just let it go, I would just have this fat paunch and still chicken legs and lanky arms. So yeah, I just try with that stuff. I mean, it's I don't mind throwing him under the bus because I said it on his radio show, but I remember Tommy Little, who is 39 at this point in time, and I keep saying to him, man, you get to 40, things are going to change. It's a cliche, but things are going to change. And he said to me, I realise if I work out 10 times a week, I can eat what I want.
Yep.
And he doesn't have kids, so no one's surprised. And I'm like, 10 times, bro. That's 10 is a lot.
I also work out more times a week than there are days in the week, and that is a problem. That is an unhealthy mental thing to go, I'm itching and I need to do something. I'm lucky the gym is 500 metres from my house.
Right.
And I do HIIT classes in the morning, weights at night.
Jesus, good on you, man. I found out 4 times a week is where I sit.
Oh, my trainers are saying stop doing it so much. Take like rest days are really important for your body. But me, I'm like, oh yeah, but like I'm bored.
Yeah, whatever, dork.
Yeah.
You don't know me. I mean, I do that because I'll do that HIIT thing, like you said, those HIIT classes of 30 to 45 minutes and you just flog yourself. I find they're great. And then I also run because I'm touring a lot. It's just wherever I'm at, you can go, cool. And it's nice because you get to see wherever you're touring to.
Yep.
And so I'll max out a half an hour, maybe a 40-minute run. Yeah. I'm not going any further.
Yeah. All right. That's career. I mean, that's health.
Yeah.
All right. Well, career, family, friends. Which one do you want?
I feel like I don't want to do the fun ones. I feel like I want to keep the fun ones last. You know what I mean? Which is asking for a joke about my family, but no. Let's talk family.
Okay, family.
I love my family.
Right, great. So, how many in your family? So you've got.
I shouldn't have to say that either. Of course, I love my family.
You're the second parent on, so you can talk about the family you've created or the family you were born into, whichever one. I don't mind. Yeah, it's up to you.
Oh wow!
Or you can talk about both. Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, let's work it in chronological order. So I'll talk about the family I was born into.
Okay. You've got one brother.
One brother.
Are you the oldest?
No, he is.
Yeah. What's the age difference?
2 years and like 2 and a bit.
Okay, cool.
2.5, really.
And do you have a role in your family?
It's changed.
Yep.
Like I was definitely the youngest. Yep. I mean, I still technically am the youngest. However, like all youngest, you're like, responsibility.
Yeah. That's
not in my wheelhouse. But weirdly enough, my brother is neurodiverse.
Yep.
And my father passed away when I was 19. So then I've weirdly, and this is not, my mum is still the matriarch of our family and very much for the extended family.
Yeah.
She's 74 now and she's taken that role where she's always in contact with my cousins, keeping everything moving. She's the one to organise family events.
Yeah.
But then just through my sheer age, I'm like, now I'm the kind of top of the bell curve now for my family.
At 19, that would have been a huge, not just losing your father, but also is that thing of going, I am now kind of like, all right, I've got to look after my mum and my brother. Was there any responsibility there?
Not immediately. Like it wasn't as if at 19, because Andy was 21, my brother, and mum, I'm trying to think, what she was, 50. And so it wasn't like I thought I had to look after mum.
Yeah.
And I did say to her recently, because we had a memorial of our good friend Cal, when I just said, I don't know how you did it, mum, like how you had to look after your sons and then look after yourself. And she's like, you just get through it.
Yeah.
Which is what that generation's all about.
I know.
Like people give shit to boomers, but I'm like, yeah, man, they put one step in front of the other and they get shit done.
Yeah.
Like they're not sitting there going, I don't know, man.
The only thing, and this has happened in my family, that they do that, but then it does come out eventually. Like something like it's. Like, and my family had like 20 years of trauma that just was bubbling away and then it had to come out.
Yeah, you're right. There is have you pushed that down way too far?
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. It's going to come out.
Yeah, that heartburn you've got. So that was a seismic shift. But it's not as if I sit and worry how they're going to go. It's just more like the time of my life I'm at and my energy levels. I'm like, oh yeah, of course I've got more energy than my 74-year-old mum.
Yeah.
And so in that respect, I just feel like, okay, well, I should be holding up my end of the couch now a bit more than my retired mum.
All right. So how often do you speak to your mum?
Like a lot.
Yeah.
We're really close. I mean, we were always pretty close. And then after Dad died, you're like, of course, you get closer. And she's also an extremely supportive human being. So, my father was British and he was great, but I think I had about 2 cents in the emotional bank. Like he just wasn't going to talk about it. So my mum was very much the opposite, which is, I think, that generation, that's what happened.
Yeah.
Dads were like, well, I'm working. So all the other stuff gets left to your mum.
Were you closer with your mum or closer with your dad?
I'm close with my mum, like I always was.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was the tricky thing about the age that I was at. Me and Dad were starting to bridge that gap because my brother, he's very quiet and unassuming. And so then I turned up and I was loud and obnoxious.
In a netball dress, yeah.
Yeah. And so it was very much like the dinner table was him and I, me and Dad having a crack at each other.
Yeah.
That's what it was like. And those two watching it as it's passing through. So it was just at 19, we were starting to patch things up. And then he selfishly knocked it on the head.
How did he, I don't think I've ever asked.
He had a stroke initially 6 months before that and then a stroke and a heart attack.
Yeah.
I mean, you talked about your dad going, I better pick this up. My dad was like, that sucks. When can I go back to drinking? And they went, probably nowhere soon.
Yeah.
And my dad only drank on weekends, but we found it more annoying because he had to pull back on drinking. He was then just a pest to us on weekends. We're like, you used to leave us alone.
Yeah.
You used to muck around with your mates. Now you're just at us. And so, then 6 months later.
Well, my dad had 3 heart attacks. Like, yeah.
3?
So one at 31.
Oh, wow.
That was the big wake up where he stopped smoking. And then one, he had triple bypass surgery when he was about 44, 45. So not far from where I am now. And then earlier this year, or at end of last year, had a big, scary one that he was clinically out for 6 minutes.
6?
Yeah.
Was there any seeing the light?
He reckons there's none. He says there's nothing. And I was like, well, probably not light where you're going. Which he finds funny now, didn't find funny at the time.
Oh, mate.
Yeah.
Come on, I'm a comedian.
Yeah.
I've got to hit it quickly. But does that lend itself to why you look after your health so much?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Because I remember, because we've headed away on sad dad weekends
Yes.
where comedians, we're all dads and we all head away to a share house and just upend all of our problems. But I was always impressed because you just, on the down low, were like, oh yeah, look, I've got a couple of heart problems, not going to drink, not going to really get up to any mischief.
Well, I was still drinking, but yeah, it's very boring. But I've stopped drinking now and I feel like I'm not boring people, but you do at social events, you're like, I'm on a different wavelength right now. Like, and I
get that.
And that thing of going, I don't want to be the person who leaves the room and have everyone else go, oh, thank fuck. So I'm like, cool, having fun. Like Reese and Kyron's wedding. At about 10 o'clock, everyone was having fun. I'm like, I've had my fun. I've had all my chats. I'll go. Like,
No, you were great. I mean, if anything, sometimes when I'm talking to you, I'm like, oh yeah, Jill isn't pissed. I'm not bending too much. But yeah, I think that's good. Like I told you, my dad and my dad was in bands, so all his mates, they were big drinkers because it's just you're out performing and you're drinking. And he was, I mean, I was about to say through his, cold dead hands, but I was like, no, literally, like he didn't want to give it up at all. And I started as I get older, it kind of doesn't fit the puzzle of your family. Like all the things you're talking about, alcohol actually doesn't fit everything else.
Yeah.
It fits kind of your friends and your socializing, but everything else in your life, you're like, this isn't helpful.
Yeah.
Because I'm a 0 the next day.
Yes. And the older you get, you realize it's even less than 0 sometimes. You're like, all right, we've got to start up again.
Yeah, and I think for it to be, because I grew up with a dad it was almost part of his personality. Like he would socialise on a weekend, and that's all the people knew of him.
Yep.
And he was in a great mood. I always think when I was young, I was like, he made it look good.
Yeah.
He was way better on a Saturday and Sunday when he was drinking than he was on a Monday to Friday when he wasn't. So I could understand why I got onto it. But then I'm like, yeah, but the rest of the family got to see him just, when's the next weekend coming? And he just didn't care.
Him being a performer, was that kind of like for you, I can see performing is an actual career. I know we'll get to career in a minute, but was that kind of something that you went, oh yeah, I can do this, and I know that like people aren't going to be shocked?
I guess people wouldn't be shocked, but Jill, I honestly reckon it was the opposite. My dad never encouraged me to play an instrument through high school. I think because he didn't make a career. He actually had a cleaning business that was given to him when his dad passed away.
Yeah.
And I don't think so. He hated the cleaning business. And so I think he always, like honestly, I think he saw himself as a failure that he couldn't make that work, and then dissuaded my brother and I from ever getting into it. And realistically, I didn't get into performing until he passed away because I was like, oh, maybe I'll give it a shot. But I still reckon if he was around, I don't know. I don't think he'd stop me from doing it, but I don't think he'd be that encouraging because I think the taste in his mouth wasn't great.
But you've had success. I think that once they see success,
eat that, Peter Thornton.
It's all right. I understand this now. I understand it.
I mean, it is. I can understand why he's doing it. Any parent, you'd go, really? Like you're going to go, like, the conversations you and I would have with civilians who, when they ask you what you do, they can't fathom that you're just almost going from gig to gig.
Yeah.
They cannot. They're like people have asked me, oh, so, how further down the road do you know? And I'm like, honestly, probably 3 months.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, I don't know. But it's been like that now for 20 years, so I've gotten used to it.
Yeah. Also, I think there is something about being a parent and just you want your kids to have an easier life, and a performing arts career it's a tough one. But I just know, like, even with my own kids, and it's stuff like they're so great and they're so themselves and individuals. They've both got very long hair, and my eldest is starting high school next year. And I'm like going, do I get him to cut it? But that's my own thing from when I was going to high school in 1993 in Burnie in Tasmania. I couldn't have long hair. But he's going to school in 2024 in inner city Melbourne. He's going to be fine having long hair. Yeah.
You're so right. Like, you're in suburban Australia, regional Australia in the 90s. Like, it is night and day. Like, anything out of... I remember we'd all had... Because Geelong's near the surf coast, so Torquay and Bells Beach, and we'd have corduroy grey shorts.
Yep.
And we had uniforms. Like, my kids are at school in whatever they want to wear.
Yeah.
We were just in grey outfits, like we were inmates. But if we had the tag that quite often on the Quicksilver shorts had the size, this weird tag hanging off the label. Like, if you didn't rip that off, you get beaten up.
Have I told you
for the tag?
If I told brands were so important that we couldn't afford them, but my older brother had a pair of Quicksilver shorts that he'd grown out of, but they were corduroy ones, so they couldn't wear them. So my mum picked the Quicksilver tag, sewed it onto my shorts, which were just Kmart shorts. Yeah. First day of school, kid goes, they're not real Quicksilver. You've made them. The stitching isn't right. Got caught straight away. I'm just going, I'm not wearing these, Mum. No.
It's like the most depressive episode of 21 Jump Street.
Yeah.
You're undercover with shit shorts. No. But man, you're right. Like that was enough for you to be ripped, and you probably had to live with it for 12 months.
Yeah. Kids are so much nicer these days. I mean, we still have cyberbullying, but there's so much nicer. All right. So you've got your own family now. Like, so, yes. Do you find I mean, of course, there's massive differences in the way you were raised and the way you're raising your children. But the role that you're playing, are you comfortable in that role?
I am. It's very difficult in this day and age because I think, for better or worse, and I'm not saying we need to go back to those times, there was a clear definition of labour when I think about my parents. Like, I'm not saying it was the right way to go, but it was almost like, that's your job as a dad. That's your job as a mum. Boom, here we go. Yeah. And now you're a Swiss Army knife of you're chewing everything because you're like, it's constant jujitsu of like, so when are you working, especially with the jobs we've got? Yeah. You're like, well, I've got to be out that night. So then I've got to do that. And then I'll be the ones to pick them up and I'll cook dinner. But then tomorrow night you've got to cook dinner and you've got to do all that. And it's like this constant shifting and back and forth that I'm happy with the role, but it can be sometimes really exhausting.
Yes. You come home, so you come home at 6 o'clock. What's the night look like? What do you all eat together?
We all eat together, and that is a real thing that I've really put down on the kids. Yep. I'm like, we sit, and I've explained it to them. This is when we hear about your day. Yep. This is when we can talk and do whatever. Because a lot of the times too, I'm sitting and then I'm going to a gig. So it's a weird energy too, because everyone's winding down while I'm winding up. Did your family growing up all sit at the table and eat dinner? Yes. Yeah, so did we. Yep. Yeah, it was 6 o'clock. We're sitting there, we're all doing it, and for better or worse. Yep. And again, teen years, there'd be just blow-ups, but you're like, this is happening. We all had to be at the table. TV was allowed to be on. It was? Yeah. And it was always the news or like Sale Central or something like that. But this is how bad it was. So we had two TVs, one in the lounge room and one in what we called the family room, which is just an empty space in the front doorway kind of thing. Yeah. And four of us could see the lounge room TV and the other one was on as well. And Dad could look to the side and see that one. So he could eat and then look and there's the TV there. So he was just on his own. Instead of turning around his neck all the way, he could go, look up my periphery and there's the TV. Surround sound on your TV. But it was so important we had to eat at the table together. I was like, come on, this is already with the TV. Like, the facade's off here. Like no one's talking. We're all eating and then eating as quick as we could so we could run into the lounge room because there was only 4 comfy seats, 5 of us. You've got to run. You've got to finish really quickly so you can get one of the comfy seats. Otherwise, you're sitting on the floor. I mean, my dad had his seat closest to the telly, and I've only sat there a couple of times in my teen years and then got a wallop for it. Can you imagine you having your own seat? I doubt you have your own seat in your house. Mate, it's not just my own seat. Like, I've got posters of old shows, comedy shows I've put on. My partner's like, do we have to have that up?
Yep.
I'm like, it's not, like, that has literally paid the bills for this house.
It's something I've a few times, once every 9 months, I reckon I have a bit of a breakdown going, you could look around this house and there's nothing that represents me. You could walk in and not even know I live here. Like, there's stuff everywhere. Whereas I'm thinking back, and this is so old man talking, but can you imagine, like, my dad had his own seat. No one else sat in that seat. That was Dad's seat.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine saying to my kids, oi, that's my seat. Get out of my seat.
Get out of my seat. Because also we don't have recourse. You know, you go, get out of your seat. Why? I don't know, because Dad will feel sad, and do you want that for your dad? Like, my dad would go, get out. Why? Because you can see my knuckles turning white. So what do you reckon's going to happen? Okay.
All right. Okay. Friends or career?
Let's go with career, and then
Cool.
we'll finish out with friends.
All right. Okay. How do you define what you do?
I do say comedian now. I don't hide from it, and it can be at times exhausting. To be honest, how do you find it? I found it's a conversation stopper.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm in an Uber, the guy just goes, cool, and stares off into the distance. Or girl. Or then you know, whoever it is, when I say comedian, I find it more elicits a conversational stroke
Yeah.
than oh, wow. Because they don't, you know, most people you're talking to have got office jobs and they go, oh, God, I don't know where to start.
Sometimes they just start with who they don't like, other comedians. They're like, oh, you know who I don't like? And they will tell me a good friend of mine. I go, okay, no, they're really funny. Like, yeah, they're really a nice person. You should like them.
Yeah. Yes. That is exactly right. That's a very Australian thing.
Yeah.
Don't like them at all.
Yeah.
What are they like?
Yeah.
They're nice.
How long before you wanted to be a comedian did you get up and do it?
Like, the actual physical gigs, like, you look back on it, there was little things, like we had music and theatre at school, and then I'd get up and I did impersonations of people.
Yeah.
And there's video footage of me when I'm like, and I'm talking maybe 10 years old, I would do impersonations, usually of impersonations I've seen, like it'd be Bob Hawke or something. And we'd be away for Easter with the family friends and I'm doing my Bob Hawke. And there was things like that. And so, but then as far as stand-up's concerned, I remember, I've told this before to them, Pete Hellier and Dave O'Neill, I remember they came down for Raw because it was in Geelong where I grew up, and that would be at the Geelong Performing Arts Centre, and they were the hosts and doing the bits. And I was just glued to whatever they were doing.
Yeah.
And I always remember, you know how young people give crap to Hey Hey It's Saturday?
Yes.
And because the last iteration of it
Terrible.
wasn't great.
Yeah.
It was on a Wednesday and we all know what happened. However, for people our age,
Yeah.
it was really seminal. Like, it was rusted on and it was always there. Our parents were off
Yeah.
at their dinner party
Yeah.
while we're sitting there watching TV. But that was the first time I saw stand-up.
Yeah.
And it looked cool.
I loved any stand-up on TV. I didn't know that I wanted to be one. I just knew I loved it. And so, Hey It's Saturday, the stand-ups used to love, like Russell Gilbert, loved him. Trevor Marmaid, loved him.
Just pinging him from the sides.
Yeah, just-
even John Blackman, like, to a degree, like throwing stuff in.
The midday show, occasionally I'd be off sick. I'd go and say to my nan, she loved the midday show. There was a guy called Wally the Worker. I don't know if you remember Wally the Worker. Just this old bloke who'd just tell like jokes.
Yeah,
Loved it. I was like, oh, this is amazing. And
this
then
guy's so funny. Yeah,
And then I love the Late Show as well. And my favourite parts were when Tony and Mick would get up at the start and do not the start, but like they'd get up sometimes and just do like a bit of
Monologue.
stand up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was,
a kind of two-hander. Yeah,
and it was incredible. And loved all that kind of stuff. Anything that had any stand up on it, even though I wasn't going, I want to do this one day. Clearly I did. Like Jim Owen came to Burnie. And when I was in year 7, went to watch Jim Owen at the Burnie Civic Centre.
of course.
Yeah.
I mean, I did. Jim's awesome. A couple of years ago, I remember when it was a weird COVID time and you could perform over in Adelaide in a different state. However, we were Victorian, so we were fenced off.
Yeah.
We're only allowed to perform. And it felt like the Jackson 5. We're allowed to perform, then get in the van, get away. We had to keep moving. But Jim Owen was part of it because he's a Victorian. And I just finally thought, what else we got to talk about? And I started talking about the show. And he was 24. He'd been doing stand-up for something like he said 12 months or 2 years or something. Had his own sketch show. I was glued to it. And I remember friends of mine saying to me, you're not laughing.
Yeah.
But I was like, because I remember I did that as a kid. I wouldn't laugh because I'm taking it all in.
Yeah.
Like I consciously thought it was funny. I was just observing it. I remember going to movies like Austin Powers. And again, people go, oh, it's sweet. And it's like, yeah, but when you're 15 I would just sit there and watch Mike Myers and just be like, I'd take the whole thing in. 2 hours of not laughing, but taking everything in.
Yeah, we were a big family for getting 5 weekly videos. And I'd always choose comedies. I reckon I saw every single Richard Pryor, like.
Oh, yeah. See no evil, hear no evil.
Yeah.
So funny.
Yeah. Brewster's Millions. Just.
Oh, Brewster's Millions.
One of the best.
What a movie.
All right. So if it wasn't for comedy, what do you reckon you'd be doing?
Look, I was a drawer growing up. And that's what you get called as a kid.
A lot of comedians are.
Yeah, I think because, and this is what I always say I love about stand-up, I like the introspective part of it and the extroverted part of it.
Yep.
Like you sit there and you think of ideas, be it on your laptop, your writing pad, whatever, and that's a very introverted process, but then it's extroverted when you're on stage.
Yeah.
Because I think because I was a drawer, that's an introverted activity. And you being creative, but creative in your own little world. And so that's why, like, everyone thought I was going to do that. Like I went to become, the path of anyone who draws goes, that's great. Let's see what you can do. You're really shit at maths. Well, architecture's out.
Yep.
And then it's where do you want to be? And I was a graphic designer. I used to be, and I worked as a graphic designer. And I always say I'd happily go back to it.
Yep. Did you have like, when you were studying comedy, have like 5-year plan, 10-year plan, or was just like, because like you said, we only look like 3 months in advance. I mean, did you have goals? You're like, I want to hit this.
No, I definitely had ambition. And I think anyone who does finally take the plunge in stand-up, you're lying to yourself if you don't have ambition. Yeah. We all have thoughts of grandeur when we start, like the genius has turned up. But, mate, if anything, it was the opposite. I'd shield myself from thinking I'd give this a real crack, where I was almost like, I'll just do 12 months and see where it goes.
Yeah.
Just do another 12 months and see where it goes. Because I was always... It's probably the words of my father in the back of my head, but I was like, oh, this isn't secure. This isn't going to work out. And if it doesn't, that's fine. I can still go back to graphic design.
Yeah.
And I probably kidded myself in that probably like 10 years into my career. Like, you can always go back. You can still go back.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, well and truly the horse is bolted. Like I have no other skills in life.
So you reckon you'd be happy if you were a graphic designer though?
I think I would be. I have to be creative. Like I had, during COVID, we all had the long nights of the soul of going, well, okay, I can't do stand-up. What am I going to do? And my partner was like, well, think about what you'd want to do. And everything was creative.
Yeah.
There wasn't one thing that made me go, oh, I want to be an engineer or something. It was like, oh, well, I'd be a barber or I didn't think about being a tattooist, but I'd be like, I can see how that's fun.
Yeah.
You're creating things again. And then there was like that. It was like drawing or sketch artist or something in the creative field. Otherwise I'm useless.
Yeah. Oh, that's why I was so happy I had a podcast already set up and established. And also it was like I got to talk to 4 new people a week. It was great. It was like that thing of like.
Would you be a muso though if you weren't this?
That's what I wanted to be. That's what I moved to Melbourne to kind of be. There was always that thing. Yeah, it was. Well, I moved to Melbourne just because I had to get out of Tassie. It was that thing of like I just had a massive breakup and I thought I've got to get out of here. Otherwise, I was living in a house in the centre of Launceston. I was spending, it was $33 a week rent. And if I got the dole, that would have been like $450, I think, back then. And I was like, I could easily have lived off that in Launceston and done nothing with my life. So I was like, I need to be challenged. And I'd always wanted to move to Melbourne as well.
But that's a big step.
Oh, huge. Although luckily I had a bunch of friends who were already here.
Okay.
So they'd done the big move. And I came over for 2 months, like just couch surfed for a while, really outstayed my welcome at a few places, and then found a house, went back to get all my stuff. Luckily, there was the Hobart Comedy Festival that started, and my mate Justin was doing it. He said, you should put your hand up to do it. So I said, I'll do it. And then that was 3.5 weeks of a gig every night. I'd done 3 gigs before that. And then it was like, oh no, this is what I want to do. So I moved over to Melbourne, booked in 1 gig at the local, and then I thought, oh, I'll do open mic comedy, music stuff. And the comics were way nicer than the musicians in terms of welcoming me in. So I was like, oh, cool, I'll do this. Yeah.
Yeah, isn't it funny? Because I got some muso mates, and it's almost like we each look across the other side of the fence and go, that looks sick.
Yeah.
But each one kind of secretly would like to do the other. Not full time, but just give it a stab.
All right, this is a question I ask every show. So I'm a genie. I can grant you any wish to do with your career, but only your career. You can't wish for someone else to have a great career. What do you wish for?
Why would I?
Yeah.
Selfishly look after. For me?
For you.
So I grant 1 wish.
1 wish, and it comes true.
I would think, honestly, it would just be more ticket sales.
Yep.
Like I remember there was a really distinct memory for me when we went camping. This was probably 2008 or 9 with some mates. The 3 really good mates of mine, and all of them, work office jobs. And we were doing that thing of like, what would you do if, you got given $5 million and they're all taking a dump on their boss's desk and walking off and going, I'm never working again. In 08, $5 million could probably cover you now.
Yeah. Now you're like, all right, I can take 12 months off and then.
But then I realized I would continue on with what I'm doing.
Yep.
It would just mean I just wouldn't have, I wouldn't have to worry about money. And then as I've gotten on to all the struggles of stand-up, which is finding new material, doing all that, like I'm kind of like, I like that about it as much as it's shit. And we all sit around when we're trying to write a new show. Go, this is like, but that's what I'm chasing.
Yeah.
That's what I'm addicted to. So if I just keep doing that, it just means like, more ticket sales means more money, and I would just carry on.
Yep. I think that's a really good answer, because I'd be the same. I'd be like, as long as the stress of are people going to turn up doesn't go away, for me anyway.
Yeah.
It's like, that's the worst part of all of this. Like,
yes,
as long as people turn up, I think I'm fine.
Yeah. I mean, you and I talk about it. Like, Carl Barron's one of our heroes.
Yeah.
Not just for like, I honestly do think like his gear, it makes me laugh so much. But the fact that, he tours and people turn up and it's like sick. That's what he does.
Yeah. Great. All right. Last one. Friends.
There we go.
Here we go. Are you still friends with people from your youth?
Yeah.
Yeah, you are.
Couple
Yeah.
of mates. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were growing up, we were like the in-betweeners, my mates. We just kind of weren't one or t'other.
Yep.
Like there was a lot of footy players in our year, and I think they're all still mates from what I gathered, because I went to my 10-year reunion and realised I don't want to do this. And it was nothing against them. It's just a weird time warp to snap yourself back into.
I think 10 years is too soon. I went to my 20-year one.
Oh, yeah,
and that was good. That was good.
Was it?
Everyone was kind of like, oh, well, had moved on enough from high school.
Yeah.
There was no kind of like, that they didn't talk to me in high school. It was like, oh, wow, cool. We didn't talk in high school. Well, what are you doing now? Well, you got kids. And it was actually very, very nice. And the whole group, because it was like about 50 kids who were in my year 10, because we were finishing year 10 in Tassie. And so it was that thing of like about 50 of us there, all getting on quite well. Everyone kind of, and it was also off the back of, I'd just been on TV. So I was like, oh, I'm going to this one. This one's good.
Oh, g'day, guys. All right, just give me a Sharpie now. Let's get the signatures out of the way. But yeah, I've got a couple of really good mates that I still talk to. And I guess the Geelong thing, because it's not as physically as far as like Tassie. And then so we were, I think in the 20s and 30s, we weren't seeing maybe as much of each other. But now that I think like when you start having kids and have a family, there's so many commonalities that, just calling up, going really tired and I'm over this. Same. So yeah, got old mates.
Have you had any friendship breakups? And was it a proper breakup or just a slow ghosting where you're like, we've got nothing to say anymore?
No, slow ghosting.
Yeah.
I've never had, in my friend, it's funny, the guys I grew up with, there were a lot of blow-ups and stuff. Someone told me dudes who are called Dave usually have the job of being the go-between.
Yeah.
Dave will be, hey guys, come on, let's just try and all get along. So even the people that I don't really see anymore, I've never had a bust up, where you go, we're never seeing each other. You go F yourself, like it's, nah.
Yeah. You are. Can I say you are very good at reaching out and contacting people? Or with me. I remember when during a festival, my management company kind of just went, we're done halfway through.
But didn't I call you during the meeting? You had a meeting with you go, thanks, bro, but I'm literally in the meeting or something.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, then you call me back, but it was that thing like, and it wasn't, and I could tell it wasn't just a, hey, what's going on here? What's the gossip? Which I had a lot of people going, hey, what's going on there? And I'm like, I'm fucking not telling you. Like you only know, but you was a proper, hey, that must suck. How you doing? So you're very good at reaching out to people when they kind of, when you feel that I would need some support.
Yeah, but I do know I'm annoying because if I'm driving somewhere, I'm like, who can I call?
Yeah,
and I will. I've realised my civilian mates are like, I'm at work, dickhead.
Yeah.
And they give me the hush tones, like, what's going on, mate? Can't really talk. But then comic mates, I will call all the time.
Yeah.
And I've stupidly, like my partner always said to me, she goes, I was just so impressed you called earlier days. Like you weren't texting. And I was like, because I find texting annoying.
Yeah.
It wasn't some romantic thing. I find it easier to chew someone's ear off for 10 minutes than it is to text.
I much prefer a text.
Oh, do you? So I'm being a pest.
No. I do like a phone call because it's a novel thing because there's not too many people. What my least favorite is the voice message text where it's like, just call me.
Oh, yeah.
But then now I've got to go actually listen, and I'm at work, so I've got to get headphones because it's from a friend of mine who I know is not going to say anything that the rest of the office can hear. Like, I don't want them hearing.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
And it kind of disappears and you're like, just I have to text you back. Like,
Yeah.
what's this about?
Yeah.
But that habit actually probably comes from my mum. My mum's very good at just checking in on people. And she keeps a network that I'm like, sorry, what? Like she's mentioning people that I don't remember 20 years ago.
In Geelong, do people just drop in without a phone call first?
Used to.
Yeah.
A mate of mine was trying to bring the pop-in back and I was actually kind of happy with it. But then a pop-in is pretty, like, we're so busy now. Pop-ins, there's so much risk to it.
Yeah. My house is so messy. I couldn't have a pop in. The kids are just fucking mess everywhere. I'd be embarrassed.
Mate, I was talking about this. What a time. So my dad would get, mum would just say, he'd be pissed and he just gets on the landline. So it's probably, again, that's the same thing that I've got where I'll call mates. I'm like, they want to hear from me. But he would call mates and be like, next weekend, we're on, come round. And he was maggot. Next day forgets. And because back in the day too, this is what boomers are good at as well. You say there's something happening, they will turn up. No text, no what's going on. And you couldn't text back then, but there was no, calling on Wednesday to go, we're still cool.
Yeah.
And she said they would just turn up with food and she'd be like, what? And then, but that was the days when your freezer was full of food. And she'd go, okay, well, I'll put something together and then just would cook up whatever, a turducken or whatever.
Here's one. How many ongoing group texts or Facebook groups do you reckon you'd be in?
I actually don't think a lot compared to most.
Yeah.
We've got some WhatsApps with, this is what sucks about being a parent. You've got a lot of WhatsApps with groups that you're like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Of the kids' years levels. There's a few, we're in one together.
We're in two together. I just realised I'm only in two on Facebook.
Yeah, we are in two.
And they're both with you.
Yeah. One of them I talk about in public, the other one not so much. And then, so there's not that many because...
One is just the sad dad group.
Well, that's true.
And when I say sad dad, we're not sad dads. It was just that's what people call it. Me, you, Ben Lomas, Harley Breen, Wade Duffin went away twice together.
Yeah.
And the third, the trilogy's coming. But, and that was just to kind of let's get together. And then afterwards it was this is making us laugh still. But yeah.
And don't you think, I don't know if this is men of every age, but our age, because we're an in-between generation, like our dads wouldn't have asked how the other guys are going.
No.
So there's usually a conversation. If there is like, how are you going, mate? You doing all right? And then there's daylight. And then there's the stupidest things you've ever heard that are getting messaged to each other. Just stuff that you go, are we 8 years old?
And the other one's a basketball one, everyone, if you're worried.
There's that. So then I've got a couple, but I don't think it's as much as everyone else because, again, I'm pretty lazy with messages. Like I'll almost build up messages and that's why I call people.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I missed a couple of that. I'll give you, we'll chat for 10, 15 minutes.
All right. So that's friends, career, health and family done. All right. Now we get to the point where we're turning ones off. Which one are you keeping on? Which one's a definite keeping on?
Ooh, family.
Family. Well, that's you can't. Yeah, it would be bad if you turn your family off. You've got your own, and you've also got.
I want to defend this because when you do material, because I know comics are like, oh, you're complaining about your kids again. You're like, well, yeah, because in stand-up you've got to complain.
Yeah.
You can't be like, hey, things are going really well, and good night.
Well, it's Nate Bargatze calls like, you don't know it's comedy. It's just a mean speech.
Yeah. But then I also think, like, of course I'm talking about my family because they do mean a lot to me. And so I'm around them a lot and they're going to do some things that shit me as I do to them.
Yeah.
But they're the only bits that I pluck out. Do you know what I mean? That's probably the 10% where things go crook. The 90% is I just really love them.
Yeah.
And I'm really proud of them. Like, but who would pay money to hear me say that?
I remember Jeff Green saying we were all in Singapore and every night he'd go around and tell people like, he's watched their act and said, this is what the essence of you are. And at the start we were like, that's not true. And then the more I think about it, the more he was so spot on. And he said to another comedian, he goes, you're too nice about your family. People don't want to hear that. They just want to hear how hard it is so they also feel good about their lives because they're also going through it. And we know that you love your family. It's a given. Like, so you can get away with, and at the time I listened to I don't know if that's right. And then I'm like, I think he's nailed it there. With my one, he said that I was an angry man and that anger needs to come out. I was like, I'm not angry. And then I'm like, I reckon you nailed me there, Jeff. There's a bit of, not anger, but it's just that frustrated, and it's very funny to be frustrated about stuff that doesn't matter.
But I also think about this is the thing about comedy. Like you're a great dude. You're a nice guy. You sent some texts that just made me laugh so hard, and they're so brutal. But I'm like, I know he's making a joke. That's what makes them so funny. I know you're a good dude, but then you have an ability to rip some stuff out that I go, wow.
I mentioned that in the Gillian Cosgrove episode where I was, having been in writers' rooms, you write for different voices.
Yeah.
If I know I'm in a room full of just comics, I know the only thing that's going to make us laugh is the wrongest thing, and we all know it's a joke. So I'm like, all right, I can go this far. But when the Dum Dum Club were doing their roast of Deal, and I wasn't turning up because I'm not going, I don't want to be involved, but Carl was like, do you have any jokes? I'm like, all right, here you go. Boom, 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 boom. And he's like, were you sitting on them for a while? I'm like, no, it's just that's a part of my brain that I can go, all right, this is a fun thing to be able to do.
Man, you sent me something recently and I was on a phone call, talk about waffling on.
Oh.
And I finally returned and you went, that's the longest half an hour of my life.
That was a real long way. I think I've gone too far here.
Because I got off the call and was like, oh, God. And for a comic to just say, ha ha, I'll put laughter emojis on, that's a big thing because you realise you can't top it. Yeah, I was like, that's so funny.
Oh, Patreon subscribers, don't hit me up. I won't tell you what the text was. I'm not going to share it.
No.
So we've got family. Families are burning bright. Okay.
Yeah.
What else?
You would then go... it's a tough one between career and friends, to be honest, because I've had some times when the kids were really, again, young. They need you all the time. You're not sleeping. I've kept my job going, but then I've been like, I can't, like on weekends, you want to catch up with friends. And it annoys you. I would get really frustrated with, say to my partner, I just want to hang out with some mates. Yeah. But I guess then career took preference because it earns you money and your family can survive. Yeah. So career's there. But also in saying that, our mates are also part of our career. Well, that's the thing. We're very lucky that we've got a career where you do hang out with people that you like. Yeah, and if you're in a green room and there's a good hang, like that was nice at times when I was just wrecked again and struggling. You could upend it and everyone goes, yeah, cool. All right, so we've got friends and health left. Which one are you turning off? I would say probably friends, then health. I do look after my health, but it is the lowest ranking officer in that. It's tough. That's good. I think that's the first one with health. Really? Yeah, that's good. I do think because, again, I'm just going back to when I was really struggling. It was like, I just want to see a mate and upend it. Yeah. But I'm not going, I just want to go for a run or whatever. But it wasn't something I was searching for. I think you've got a good base with your health though, and so you can not concentrate on that at the minute. There's a bit of that. Like I'm probably not too bad with my diet. So in the fact that, you know what I mean, even if you're struggling a bit, I'll just be like, I'll just eat all right. Yeah. It'll be fine. Great. We've got family, career, friends. They're burning bright. Well done, Dave. You know what I realised though? Health would have got me some sponsors, mates that post about doing a push-up as a comedian using it fitness first behind them. Maybe you can get some, but you turn it off. If you want Dave to turn it back on, actually hit him up. That's a really good point. I was talking to a comic about this recently who keeps himself in good shape. I'm like, those guys don't get you get be part of the Melbourne Marathon or something because they want you to blow out to then go, I want to get myself back into it. That's when they want you. Yeah. Hey, you've got a new hour on YouTube that anyone can watch. Yeah, mate. Don't ask. It's on YouTube. It's only been up for a week now, and it's been getting some really good reviews. Great. I don't think some Americans can't understand me, but it's been great. So yeah, check that out. Don't Ask on my YouTube page, and I'll be touring next year. So if you do like it, then you come see the new show. Excellent. Is that davethornton.com.au or? Really, it's Dave_Thorno now for all my Instagrams, YouTubes, TikToks. Yeah, 43-year-old man on TikTok. Hey, I almost caved for this. I was going to go, I'll put little clips up on TikTok. And then I'm like, if someone else wants to do that, someone out there wants to clip up and do a TikTok for me, I'm happy. I'll send you stuff. Mate, it's bare knuckle brawling on that joint. They will let you know what they think about you, whether you want to hear it or not. The other thing the other day, I was like, oh, fuck, I'll just do, if nothing else, I'll just do gym Instagram. That's all I'll do. I'll set up a gym Instagram. That would go off there. Do you reckon? Like they would, if you just got to do a highlight of how do I keep myself in shape in my 40s and they love that stuff. Oh, my feed does.
All right. I'll try and get dad bod on TikTok and I'll go, right, here we go. Hey, thanks for doing this.
Mate, thanks for having me on. You're the king of the pods, mate.
Hopefully. King. Hey, everyone listening to this, thank you so much for those who came out to the Catfish shows to watch the Don't You Know Who I Ams. You can, if you want to listen to them all, you can make it, go to patreon.com/DYKWIA. $5 a month gets you access to over 300 hours of podcasting. And in the new year, you'll get a bonus one of these up as well every week. It will be with a listener. So that'll be if you are a Patreon subscriber and you want to come on the show, become a Patreon subscriber. Now, I'll get you on. I'll get you sitting in the chair that Dave was, or we'll do it on Zoom if it's easier for you. Yeah. Anyway, thanks everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Boop.